Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Nisemonogatari, the season finale, the series finale, if you will. Maybe, I don't know. Episode 11.
Yep, that's the episode we're on.
Yep. Tsukihi, Phoenix, Araragi has heard something I've heard multiple times during my entire life. Your sister's possessed by an immortal bird.
An immortal
Never gets
firebird.
easier. Yeah.
It never gets easier to hear that. Something I also never hear. I don't know how to segue that away. I was going to be like, I also hear this all the time. And I was going to bring up the line at the end where Yozuru and Yotsugi are like, remember, we're the good guys.
Yeah.
But like, I never actually hear that.
That's fair.
It wasn't a good segue. I apologize.
I expect a fight to occur this episode after Araragi steals his resolve, but I don't want that outcome to prohibit Yotsugi from appearing going forward.
I don't want anything bad to happen to Yotsugi. I don't want anything bad to happen to Shinobu. Obviously, there was some bluffing involved with last episode. I think that overall, once this episode's over, I feel like one of my favorite topics of conversation, and is going to be the idea of what this series or what Nisemonogatari has done with the idea of what is good versus evil.
Yep.
And the complexities there. I think that'll be really fun to talk about more with seeing what actually is to come of this idea of we're the good guys, we're the exorcists, we're the specialists, but what we're trying to exorcise is your little sister, but we're saying it's this imposter that isn't your real sister and that's true evil there. I can't wait.
Interesting. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Oh, the theme.
Another bird. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It does the same thing in a human nest. Does it replace?
Like.
And the dying bird is being reincarnated. Human mother. But your mom?
Wow. Whoa. So do you think Yozuru understands this and continues to classify it as a phoenix?
I mean, it is truly immortal with the fact that it's... And also the crime itself, that there is a victim. This isn't a victimless imposter. Yes, there's a harmless element, the fact that Tsukihi's not going to hurt anyone, but there's still, like, without knowing it, Aragi's mother carried a monster, not truly her child.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes down to what other characters would classify as evil.
This song gets stuck in my head quite frequently.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at least it's not the scenario like Aragi had another little sister that was a baby, and the baby was literally, like, pushed out of the nest, if you will.
Yeah. Still a sister. You have no idea, Karen.
We're leaving Karen out of it. Sleeping.
Wow. What a crazy shot.
月日ちゃんのためには死ねるか？
死ねる。笑いながら死んでやる。月日ちゃんは私の妹。
Aww.
当然だろ？
ああ、当然だ。僕だって。
Reassurance. Let's go.
For you too as well.
何度でも何
It
度でも
doesn't matter what he's
Whoa.
heard.
君のドラキュラみてえに死ぬまで死に尽くしてやる。フェニックスか。展開があまりにも突然すぎ
What a
て
crazy bed.
ついてけねえよ。えい。
Checking if you're really out cold, obviously. It's the correct response.
Oh no.
いやいや、お前とチューしても別に何にも感じねえと思ってさ。ドキドキもしねえし、嬉しくもねえ。お前やっぱり僕の妹だよ。知ってか？
I like that the hair like split up.
カレンちゃんの兄ちゃんじゃなかった頃もある。生まれてから最初の3年間、僕は一人っ子だったし、次の1年間、僕は2人兄弟だった。4年待って、ようやく僕はお前の兄ちゃんになったんだ。荒木月日は生まれた時からずっと僕の妹だったんだ。僕の妹で、カレンちゃんの妹だった。そうじゃなかった時は、ひと時もない。
Ooh.
僕との
Why does that make me emotional?
兄弟なんてそんなもんだろ。
It's how this family works.
お前やカレンちゃんと子供の頃に一体何回結婚の約束したもんかわかんねえぜ。重婚だけどな。
バカみたい。そんな昔のこと持ち出して何かをごまかせるとでも思ってるの？
Like a bird in a cage, that bed.
おい、カレンちゃん。僕ちょっくら。
Oh shit.
And the happy music with it too.
し
Like
っかり守ってろ。誰も入れんなよ。
任せてよ。
Whoa, cool shot.
Karen does whatever her brother says.
This already feels like a perfect setup for a finale for the series of Nisei. Whoa.
The
Can you
mu-
imagine sledding?
The music that's
お
happening.
前様よ。どこへ？何をしに？
あいつらのところへ戦いに。
Happy to do it.
妹のために
Whoa.
Would over and over again until he actually died.
何も得ないよ。
月日じゃったか？
あ、
お前様の極小の妹子の名前じゃよ。
なんだ。名前覚えたのかよ。お前が人間の名前覚えるの。
あれだけ激しく連呼されたらな。それに良きな。
It's a good name.
大きな。そうか。
You know what that means? She's gonna help you.
太陽はわしの敵じゃが。月に
Oh my god.
She's aligning herself with you.
その恩返しをしておくというのも悪くはあるまい。
そっか。ありがとう。
礼には及ばん。
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh,
Oh
shit.
my god. What the?
This is the real kiss shot, motherfucker. It's been a while.
招かれざる客ちゅうとこやな。
Oh.
いや遅かったね。待ちかよ。とでもほざきよるんやろけど。
Slightly
う
different.
ちはあそこまで他人に対してオープンにはなれへん。
星野はそもそも一度としてそんな殺気を
おー
出しませんでしたよ。
そうやろな。星野くんはそうや。
Was
そういうやっちゃ。
is.
ほんでどないするん？わかりやすいしな。暴力賛成やが。
We're
all
all about
about
violence.
お互い人間と会議のコンビやねんし。うちと踊れ。ハートアンダーブレードちゃんと四つ木
Former. Fuck you.
対戦カードはええんかな？
I get it, but still.
ん？不満か？なんならうちと旧ハートアンダーブレード四つ木と踊れっちゅう組み合わせでもええんや。
いや、最初の方でいいよ。
よし、小娘。わしらは下じゃ。2階にわしらのバトルにふさわしい部屋がある。で思う存分戦おうではないか。年季の違いという。
Look at her.
わかった。そこまでパワー。
She's almost dressed like she's one of his sisters.
Yeah.
敬老の日はまだ1ヶ月ほど先だけど。宇宙ってまで僕に年季の違いを。
Jesus Christ.
せっかくだから付き合っておばあちゃん。
Granny.
お願いでそう言った。
もうろくに残存しておらん極東の前。
Oh. Where's your legacy, asshole?
Nothing written about you.
With that posed look of yours.
Volunteer work for the elderly!
僕は決め顔でそう言った。
Why am I more excited for Aragi's fight?
Hasn't seen him in a while.
そこまで行くとも何がしかの別に言うほどのことやあらへんよ。単なる古い友達や。のくんと海輝くんは大学時代の同期。
What? What?
The big three! The real big three! Stop.
同じ学科で同じサークルで
God damn it.
Sasuke!
よう4人将棋とかやって遊んどったわ。
Who?
オカルト研究会。ちゅうかまあ、オードレの妹が親言うて親切に教えてくれたんが、そもそも海輝くんなんやけどな。
Goes to kill him instead.
影縫さん、僕は妹の味方だよ。
本物の妹やない。本物や思ってた妹が実は偽物や言うてし、オードレはこれまでと同じようにその妹を愛せるんかいな。
愛せるさ。むしろこれまで以上に愛してる。
Oh.
なんざ燃えるだけだろうが。
オードレの気持ちは分かったわ。尊重せなあかんやろな。うちのような正義の味方からしたら
Good guy like me.
Oh.
道理なしや。やっぱちゃうわ。拳でしか会話ができ
I can only speak with my fists.
やけどどうなんやろうな。それでええとしても
Oh!
Those shoes really are weapons. That's crazy. Not just her fists. She uses her head and her feet.
Look at the blood. Jesus.
不死身やったことがある。偽物の妹を許容することができるかもしれへん。
Karen's fine with
そ
it.
やけど、カイともなん。例えばカレンちゃん言うたか。俺のもう一人の妹は。
We're great at remembering names today.
踊れと同じことが言えるんか。踊れのおかんはどないやねん。偽物の妹本人。
If she knew.
それまで通りに暮らせるんか。今は自覚がないからええやろ。それを知った時、本人は傷つくんちゃうんか。
This is the real choice about whether to hide things behind the curtain with the
これ
family.
は踊れが一番分かっとるやろ。不死身の化け物が人間に対してどれほど残酷になれるか。踊れが一番よく分かっとるよな。
Oh!
そうなる前に始末をつけたる。すんなりそう他人に押し付けんなや。
Oh! Oh, sliding him on the tree branch.
まだ終わりちゃうで。そろ気になるしな。ちょいと見に行こうか。
Let's go take a
Oh
look.
no, I don't want to see Shinobu in bad shape. Okay.
Or is Shinobu seeing Aragi like this gonna mean anything?
我が主様。
なんや、巨大な口叩いとった割にはどうやねん。苦戦しとるみたいやないか。よ次。
これから大逆転するところだったんだよ。僕は決め顔でそう言った。
そうかそうか。
You let this being, this oddity call you sis.
譲っとき。サンダーブレード。ほんだらうちと踊れらで決勝戦と行こうか。
I love her Mr. Donut jacket.
戦わない。それにおかしなことを言うんじゃないぞ人間。我が主様はまだ海にお前様よ。
そうだよ。僕はまだあなたに屈してなんかいない。拳にもあなたの言葉にも全く納得なんてしていない。
Oh my god.
踊るやろ。踊れがどんな価値観もとうとってやけれど。そんな理想を他人に押し付けんなや。
他人じゃありません。家族です。家族には僕が理想を押し付けますよ。家族なんだから嘘もつきます。騙します。面倒もかけます。 恩を返せないこともあるでしょう。それでいいと思ってます。正義の味方さん、偽物であることが悪だというその悪は僕が背負います。偽ることが悪いことなら悪いやつでいいんです。好感度なんかいらねえよ。最低の人間でいい。お兄ちゃん、あいつがそう呼んでくれるならそれでいい。
性悪説か。性善説くらい知っとるやろ。中国の哲学者孟子の思想や。生まれながらにして前世を有するっちゅうあれや。性善説が理想論やとするなら、性悪説は現実論や。身も蓋もない純子の思想やね。人は生まれながらにして悪性を持つ言うねんな。
生まれながらに。
Oh my god.
そう。
Oh my god.
善行をなすならば偽りによるしかない。そうカッパした。偽りであり偽物でありよるしかないと。
偽善。
Fake altruism.
つまりは仁や。善はもとよりすべて偽善であり、そこには善であろうという意図がある。ちゅうてな。今日言っとった思考ゲームやねんけどな。
That makes sense.
それと全く同じ区別もつかんような偽物、どっちの方が価値があると思う？
本物と偽物。
This is the season of philosophy.
うちの答えは当然本物の方が価値がある。押野くんは同価値や
Equal value.
けど海輝くんはこない偽物の方が圧倒的に価値があるってな。本物になろうという意志があるだけ。
It's more real than the
Than the
real
real thing.
thing.
海輝くんはな、どうしようもない小悪党のくせにだけはかっこええんや。
He says neat
強
things.
いて言うならからうちらが得るべき教訓っちゅうとこか。10年越しの教訓やけど帰るで。うちらの負けや。
影縫さん。
しらけたわ。こんなけったいな気分にさせられたら。
When I'm feeling strange like this.
ならん。アンリミテッドルールブック。とっても素取りは取るな。
But not one that's nesting.
正義の例外いう。
Whoa.
存在的にメンターな踊れが。だいたい踊れ。最初からうちとのバトル、どっか本気やなかったよな。
本気じゃないって。
さっきを肝心とかやなかったぞ。なんやろけど。正直、あれはあれで気抜けたわ。
There was no
いつも
bloodlust.
僕から殺気を感じなかったというなら、人間扱いしてくれたからですよ。影縫さん。お互い人間と怪異のコンビだって。
Mm-hmm.
この状態の僕を人間と呼んだのは一人だけなんです。僕の方こそあれで気が抜けていた。変な気分にさせられて、アロハのおっさんを相手にしていた時のように。
That wears that shirt for some reason.
着せずして押野くんとキャラが被ってもたか。でもたちゅう感じやな。情けない。押野くんなら絶対に言わへんやろっちゅうセリフで締めくくろうか。さようなら。
Oh.
She really knows him well there.
Oshino is well equipped in the Irish goodbye.
またキスされるんじゃないかと身構えてたけど。
He already said he wasn't into
そんなこ
it.
としないか。おかえり。どこ行ってたの？
実はお前のために怪物みたいな人間と。
Tell the truth, it'll only sound a lie.
And a monster like a human.
そりゃお疲れ様ない。あんま無理しないでね。
無理させろよ。好きでやってんだから。
お兄ちゃんは私たちが大好きなんだよね。
勝手に言い訳すんな。大嫌いだよ。夏休み明けにさ、僕の彼女を紹介してやるよ。
彼女いたの？
うん。実は5月あたり。余計なことチクんじゃねえぞ。だらだらとでしょ。
We need to go back.
いつまでも長居していても。
We need to go back.
とりあえずは自分の部屋に気の利いた化け物はそろそろ。
Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Ah! Ah! What is happening? Okay, that was the season finale of Nisemonogatari. Season 1, episode 11. That was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I had pretty high expectations. All of them have been blown out of the water.
We got some really, really great fight choreography. Obviously, mostly with Aragi being the one getting beat up. So we got really great fight, but then, you know, we were able to come to a great resolution by the end of it that felt good and didn't feel like wimpy, if you know what I mean. Like, it didn't feel like the villain character who wasn't actually a villain, if you were going to get into like semantics, the good guy character that was against us, Yozuru. Like, it didn't feel wimpy or weak for Yozuru to step down in that moment. And I feel like it could have, if you think about it. Like, I almost expected some major blowout fight. But when I actually think about it more in terms of what Yozuru starts to paint for us, with philosophy being brought up and where she lies in terms of like the spectrum of her Oshino to Kaiki, it's so much easier to see if she's, say, all the way on this end of fundamental good, and Kaiki's all the way on the other end of fundamentally evil, being born evil, and Oshino's in the middle, that there is equal value to all, to both oddities, to humans, to those that maybe do bad things, those that do good things, that there's equal value to all life. It is easier to see how Yozuru could agree with something that Oshino says than her agreeing with something that Kaiki says. She might find what Kaiki says interesting or entertaining or neat, as she might have said in this episode.
If we're getting into that talk, I'm down. That by far is the highlight of the episode for me.
That's what I thought. I thought you were going to be like really into
I was
that.
going to like wait a bit, because I think that is where most of my thoughts lie in the discussion for this
so then
episode.
I drove through the red light.
That's fine. But in terms of like the high school, you've been taught fundamental good. Great. I love it. But let me preface what I'm about to say with it was somewhere between episodes 7 and 8 of Nisemonogatari that I started getting the feeling that Bakemonogatari left on me, that was so special, that was so specific in the ways that it makes you think unintentionally, that you might think that you're fucking crazy for a second, but then you're trying to understand what lessons the characters believe in that are making them say these things, specifically like with Yozuru, not Yotsugi. But in terms of the fundamental good argument, I think you could say that Yozuru doesn't get to the place she does without Kaiki's argument, or Kaiki as a person existing. Like,
that's so fair.
The idea of like, yes, you're born philosophically fundamentally good, and the things that you do that stray away from it are evil, versus something that everybody's born evil, but you know, like you can make the very one-dimensional argument, one or the other. But what I specifically like is just like getting into the weeds of it in Kaiki's argument. And if you are born fundamentally evil, and then you go out of your way to make the choice to do those altruistic things, therefore is your good, you can make the argument that it's a lie, and being a lie is bad. But because of the intention of what you're doing to stray away from that category that you've been imperatively put in from your birth, is the intention, does that supersede the fact that it's a lie, and does the lie become more of a beauty because of the added strife you've had to go through to make it happen? And I think that way of thinking, while you can easily disagree with it, you can't disagree with it while following along with it without it also broadening your view of other things. Or you can, but it's a lot more difficult to, because you're really trying to break down theory here and what moral desert is.
I think you're totally right to bring up the idea that Yozuru and her thought and her character in what we meet her in this moment as does not exist without Kaiki's character, and without her knowing Oshino and Kaiki and knowing so strongly how they feel as individuals, which is very interesting because Kaiki doesn't paint it like they knew each other as well as we kind of learned that they do. He says that he knows her through the business, but we hear from her that it's a lot more than that. that they're kind of painted as this three, you
so
know?
like you have to somewhat branch off of what everything we're getting historically from Yozuru is saying versus what actions have taken place from these three that we know. Before we get deeper into it, just so that we don't misinterpret to the best of our abilities, I think we should read through some of the dialogue. If the theory of fundamental good is an ideal, the theory of fundamental evil is the realistic one. Desire lies at the core of human nature. Humans are ruled by these desires. That was the less tactful theory of Zhengji. He claimed that humans are born evil. Yep, we talked about it. I love these shots. Thus, if a person does good things, that is not their true self, but rather a lie. That was his theory. Good is living a lie, being an imposter, and due only to fake altruism. False and thus by definition deliberate. He said that being good is always fake, and therefore it constitutes a deliberate intention to be good. There is a thought experiment that Kaiki often used to discuss. This is, given the real thing and an indistinguishable imposter, which is worth more? Beautiful. The real thing and an imposter. Naturally, my response was that the real thing was worth more. Oshino asserted that they had equal value, though. Now this is like, Kaiki's argument was that the imposter is of far greater value. In its deliberate attempt to be the real thing, it's more real than the real thing because you're actively fighting against it. Mm-hmm. No, Kaiki's such a petty villain. But I love that because, yes, he does say some neat things. That's what I feel like she completely understands and appreciates Kaiki for what he is and what I wish I did earlier. What does Kaiki tell the truth about last episode and what does he lie about? You pointed out a lie about his actual, where
how well he knows her.
Exactly. But what's the truth is that she's real. Like, where does Kaiki lie in why he's doing what he's doing and the words and choices that he chooses to lie and tell truths about in his moral grandstanding of a person? Like, it's...
That's interesting. Like, you're painting this picture of if you're on such an opposite kind of end of feelings to someone else, you might want to devalue them. Let's bring up the idea of value. As Oshino paints the picture that there is equal value to someone who is an imposter versus someone who's the real thing, you would think that then Yozuru and Kaiki would devalue each other because they believe so differently. But we are getting that neither of them devalue the other, with you bringing up how Kaiki talks about true specialist, a true exorcist, the real thing. Obviously, Kaiki is highlighting that this is the real deal, like a person who is good at their job, is well known for this, and, is the real thing. There is a respect there. There's a reverence there, almost like, not a fear, but I think a reverence is maybe a good term. And it seems like Yozuru has similar feelings to Kaiki. Like, there's no devaluing. There's only awareness that we feel and think differently about the world. And I feel like you can't have, like, I want to go back to you saying you can't have one without the other, because when you think about, if you have a strong feeling or your own personal ideal moral code, that only gets tested and you only can feel as strong as you do about it when you meet the opposition. Like, Yozuru, once she met Kaiki, she was able to test her own resolve about her own feelings about the world and her own feelings about whether people are born evil or whether people are born fundamentally good, and what she should be doing in this job that she's getting into. She's able to kind of feel confidence in her position on the spectrum through being able to truly actually understand and see the person with an opposing view as a real person with value to society. Yeah, he's a petty villain, but we never devalue him.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Kaiki gets anything out of telling them that his sister was our kind of prey? What's the motive there? Because you can see, you've already seen what Araragi is. Araragi is every amateur philosopher's nightmare. Like, you're talking theory against him, and you're trying to talk about very vague what ifs, when Araragi is so down to earth and specific about, like, we're not talking about everyone. We're talking about my family. If this is my family, this is what I'm going to be to my family. I will always owe people in my family for things. I will always do things for my family for things. He gets in the fucking dirt, goes point by point with this bright, like, disgusting hope almost, because of, like, disgusting in the way that if it doesn't meet what you're preaching, you're like, holy shit, he's, like, really, like, I'll be evil. I'll really fucking do this shit. And then you wonder, does Kaiki see that? Does Kaiki see that and going into the words that he uses? Am I overthinking it? Probably. But when, after Araragi says what he does, after Shinobu lifts him up and is like, Master, are you done? You know what's coming. You know what's coming, and it's like a blinding light that after you are done listening, you're either going to have to double down on something that could be an overconfidence in yourself that you might regret later, or realize it's something just a little bit shook you and it might be at a separate degree than what you're trying to, what you typically go against, if not Araragi.
The conversation point that you're bringing up, like that scene, is when Araragi stands there and says that what you're saying is that I would be being evil by lying to my family to protect my sister, or to protect my family's kind of, I don't know, the safety of our family, the sanity of our family, the relationship and dynamic we have, and to make sure it's preserved, and to protect my sister and how everyone views her. If that's what you're saying is evil, then I'm totally okay with being evil. And I think that with what you were just talking about, what it really was making me think of is one of the questions that you kind of brought up, like you weren't questioning it, but you were bringing it up as a plot point, which was the idea that we learn in this episode that Kaiki is the one that told Yozuru about Tsukihi and Araragi. And so I want to then go back to Yozuru highlighting her view of Kaiki. We get one adjective in particular that she uses as a descriptor for him, and that is petty. Petty villain. And if you take that with the idea that he's the one that told her about this, you could also see it as I'm gonna send you to this person that reminds me of Oshino to be like, he, neither of us are actually right.
Yeah, but see, I'm going in a completely way off the deep end, deranged way of, like, believing what I say, but then being like, there's a reality that that Kaiki is saving Araragi and his sisters, because if not putting them on Yozuru's list and Yozuru going through them what they did, it's only a matter of time before somebody else comes for Tsukihi, and by Yozuru marking her in a similar way that Araragi's now marked, people might not pay as much attention to her.
So okay, then that brings up how that point that you're bringing up, that theory that you're bringing up, brings up how we're being told Kaiki believes and feels that someone who is born evil doing a good thing that real thing is really valuable and powerful. And so he's saying that if I choose to do a good thing, like that could be him. Like you're bringing up, it is true that they're more protected by the end of Nisemonogatari. That is 100% true, with the fact that unlimited rule book, we wouldn't shoot a bird that's nesting.
Yeah. And
so Aragi, we know, with Shinobu, was already kind of cleared by Oshino, and Kaiki took care of, Karen, if you will, but then we kind of resolved that. That's said and done. But Tsukihi, the last kind of member of the 3 eggs in the nest, Yozuru needs to clear and say, I'm going to treat it as you are the mentor of your little sister.
Philosophically, one of the desires for most people looking at life through the outlook that is being presented to us, are one of your desires to decide what would be good and where you lie in your beliefs, so that you can say, these are my beliefs and this is my version of good and humanity. This is my version of evil. If that is part of your desire in questioning life and humanity, then somebody being like, I don't give a shit, I'm fine with being evil then, like, what are you gonna say? What do you have to fucking say? Like, okay, like, I
And using such big words like that, I think it definitely also calls into play one of the other major things that is happening by the end of the fight, which is the distinction and the lack thereof, the blurring of the lines between human versus oddity that happens by the end of it, at least in how Araragi views himself and how Yozuru views Araragi.
yeah.
And I feel like we're told from the very beginning that like oddities, they're painted as these things that work based on their desires. They feed off of the human desires. They feed off of human emotions. There's an element of evil and lack of humanity to them. But this whole kind of season, if you will, has been even more of a conversation between blurring the lines of like, okay, if we're talking about humans as being possibly born evil or born good, and then we're using an actual oddity in this show being born to a human, we're opening that conversation up to blur the line. That, okay, then does that mean that... And then Shinobu being used too. We have Shinobu, an oddity, choosing to do what she does, which is say that she's going to fight for Tsukihi because, as she says, the name is like the moon and she wants to repay, you know, the love for the moon. Like, okay, Shinobu.
It's so good.
Like, come on. We know what you're really thinking. And it's just like another showing of that. The idea that we have an oddity actually being born with the same conversation of are humans born evil or born fundamentally good? And then we have one of our main oddities that is literally known, like historically known. She even brings up to Yotsugi, like, you're not, there's no books about you. Kiss shot. Like,
Yeah.
Shinobu is infamous in this world, but also infamous as being Oshino's favorite kind of part of the blurred line. This is an oddity that kills oddities. This is almost like a part of the ecosystem that needs to be preserved. And we have that character deciding that she wants to do something good that literally doesn't help her at all. It basically is just doing something good because she loves Araragi.
So they're trying to like attribute out of the three which one lies in which belief system, right? Like that's the first initial setup. Can you try to take that and apply that to all of their ways of saying goodbye? Like Kaiki leaving but not actually being gone, Oshino leaving without saying goodbye, and then Yozuru
actually saying goodbye.
I wonder, I don't know. I just spent 5 minutes trying to think I caught something and it ended up being a red manhole cover. This is what happens to me. Okay, so question that I don't have the answer to, and I don't think either of us do.
Okay.
But it's interesting to talk about. In the idea of life for Tsukihi, is it a matter of... It's one of two things, I think. One, at one point there was going to be, and the start of life existed between Araragi's mother and father, and that was hijacked by what would become and grow into the sister Tsukihi. Mm-hmm. The other being complete, like, divine impregnation, where it's like a Jesus type shit.
Yeah.
My point in bringing it up, is Jesus Christ Tsukihi, and or was Jesus Christ the same oddity that Tsukihi exhibited?
Oh, quite possibly. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. That makes complete sense to me.
Like, if you're in a modern day situation that Mary and Joseph were in, and like your husband is like, where did you get pregnant? This is probably more realistic than saying it's from God. Like, if you're taking actually, my advice, you should go with this. Yeah.
My baby's an immortal firebird.
Like, get them to watch all the way up to episode 11 of Nisemonogatari. I've spent an unfortunate amount of my years dedicated to the Bible, and this is by far more potent and in your face. Same amount of incest, but This is where we're at.
You're gonna make me throw something. That's hilarious. Okay.
I mean, you gotta kiss your sister to know if
you feel anything.
Yeah.
You gotta kiss her to know that she's truly your sister.
Do you think that there's a deeper reason for Oshino's
Hawaiian
Hawaiian
shirt.
shirt, or are they fucking with me? I think they're fucking with me, but damn it.
Why would you put something? What isn't there like a word for it?
Chekhov's gun?
Yeah, like why would you put it in there if there's not? I knew you would know what the word is.
It's probably not the word. It's
You used it. What's Occam's razor?
butchered.
You used
That's
it
the
the other
most
day.
like obvious outcome.
The most obvious outcome.
Yeah, to be TLDR.
Gotcha. But anyway, it seems like it has to be something because why else would another character ponder that maybe there's a deeper reason behind this?
Yeah, but like that's
But
something
also, like,
that she would ponder about Oshino,
Yeah.
and Oshino wouldn't actually have a deeper reason.
Maybe it's just another kind of drop in the bucket to the fact that they think differently and that she is an overthinker and is over here being like everything has to have a reason.
I'm so glad Karen came back even for a little bit this episode, like being compared to Cerberus guarding the gates of hell.
I
love
love
them.
that she doesn't necessarily know what was going on, but we can, even though, like, obviously Aragi questions her, like, would you die for Tsukihi? We know in those lines that it wouldn't matter if Karen knew or not, that she would say the same thing that Aragi is saying. Like, we can tell by how she says those lines that it does not matter to her whether her sister is actually an immortal firebird.
Aragi saying at the end, actually, I just went out and fought a human like a monster and a monster like a human, all for you, like, was absolutely everything to me. The last thing I have, other than talking about what's next, is, loved Shinobu's donut outfit. That's, like, if there's a Monogatari fighting game, this needs to be, like, an alternative outfit. And then, while we were having the philosophy conversations, there was, like, oh my, this shot, if we can find it, like, there were close-ups of each angle, too. It was so fucking cool.
I think this shot in the show is the epitome, in this episode, is the epitome of what the theme is.
Yeah.
Like, what we're talking about, even maybe across this series. Like, what... It's really cool that, like, Karen's plot was a stepping stone to what the, like... I'm revealing what the ultimate theme is of Nisemonogatari, and we're using the two sisters to build up that theme.
Okay, I agree with you. It's so good.
And it comes from the division within the sisters. We're told through through Kizu and Bake that the sisters are this ultimate unit. They are this unbreakable force. They are the Fire Sisters. And we get introduced to the first Fire Sister, and everything seems rosy. Yes, Karen's going off without Tsukihi to do what she's doing, but it's not painted as abnormal. It's not painted as a division between the two. It's not painted as Tsukihi doesn't want to be involved. It's just Karen running ahead. There's no feelings by the viewer necessarily to evoke what is later to come, which is Tsukihi saying to Aragi, like, I have confidence in this because she has confidence in this sense of justice. Like, I am following her lead because she believes in it so strongly.
Yeah.
And there might come a time where the Fire Sisters are going to have to divide, and, you know, Tsukihi's going to have to kind of pave her own way and, like, who she wants to be and how she wants to live, not as this unit of the sisters, but as Tsukihi.
I don't really have anything to say on what I saw about Sundagahara. I feel like I can't talk about it. I will say that when I was 16 years old, I was watching an episode of Dragon Ball Z, and a character said to another character who was a girl that, like, he liked short hair on girls, and then that character later cut their hair short, and I loved that interaction, and it made everything to me, like, it was so aesthetic. I don't know, it was great. So I was like, okay, Ben, you now like short hair on girls, because I am a 16-year-old boy who doesn't have his own personality. Over the years, I roughly realized that I think I prefer long hair, but now Sundagahara is again fucking with me. It feels really mean-spirited and personal.
I feel like I also attach personal feelings to what happens to hair in this show that I feel it could just be my own experience and my own experience as a girl or having friends that were girls and how they view changes within their appearance, like cutting their hair off a bunch or growing it out, and the phases of life and kind of recovering through a bad relationship or moving on to a new step in your life. Like, I'm going to college and I'm reinventing myself. Like, something new and fresh for yourself as hair change. And even we get the idea of dyeing your hair from Karen in this show as well. And I feel like I attach to it. Like, I think that's what they're doing, is they're bringing up that idea of like using hair as a way to visibly show to the audience that this person has surpassed some sort of barrier or obstacle that was in their way, as we know that Senjugahara has done within Nisemonogatari, which is awesome to have like this mainly be about the sisters, if you will, as like the drivers of the plot. But Senjugahara is able to, you know, do something that she needed to do to be able to move forward, to the point where we're now going to introduce her to our sisters by the end of this.
So, what's next? I could be wrong. Apologies if I am, but I believe we are going to be watching a series called Nekomonogatari Black. From just reading that, if that is the case, I would imagine it being Hanekawa. How couldn't it? But
how couldn't it be about Hanekawa?
I don't know how that necessarily fits.
Yeah, I don't
if
really.
If that's the case.
Is it going to be more like a...
Is it going to be Kizu? Or are we going to get movies?
I was going to say, is it going to be more like how Kizu was, but focused very closely on Hanekawa?
I don't know, but I'm excited.
Either
I imagine that we probably won't get as much Tsubasa and Karen going forward for a little bit. Like, that felt like
Tsukihi
a significant... Yeah, sorry. Tsukihi and Karen. That felt like a very big Nisemonogatari plot point. But...
Or maybe we'll start maybe Neko will start with, if it's about Hanekawa, think about also how, if you think about watch order, if the next one is about Hanekawa, well, at the very beginning of Nisei, Hanekawa has met the sisters. And she has bonded with them and had a relationship with them, but Senjugahara hasn't. So we could start Nekomonogatari off.
Like pre-Bake?
No, I was going to say as like... Because Black Hanekawa is still a thing. Like, Hanekawa has not... Like, the oddity is not so totally in the past.
So you're thinking that it's like, before we meet Senjugahara, the Senjugahara meets the siblings, we'll have more like in touch with Hanekawa and the siblings?
I was going to say it was going to be more so... We start off with Hanekawa being involved and Senjugahara not. We start the next one off with Senjugahara, Hanekawa, and the sisters together.
I see. Okay.
Or Senjugahara hanging out with the sisters and Hanekawa being told about it or something, you know?
Okay, I like it.
That's not like super serious theory time, but
I like it.
We gotta try, you know, grasp at straws sometimes.
All right, that's all I have you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.